Shagatam everyone, welcome to Bengalscape where we bring real stories from real people. I am your host Saf Hardy, and on this podcast we bring a very special guest from America. He is the CEO and founder of RemoteIntegrity LLC. He's a former chess coach, a former soccer coach. He knows German, he knows English. Please welcome Colin Koenig. How are you doing today, sir?
Assalamu alaikum. Very good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. I've done a lot of podcasts over the years, but most of the podcasts were pertaining to niche audience. For example, fans of combat sports, fans of criminology, people wanting to know how hair transplant works. But I think this podcast will be very mass positive because everyone wants a steady career. So I'm genuinely, excited for this one. So let's start with first asking you, why Bangladesh? Why did you choose Bangladesh to be your spot to hire workers from?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So it actually is a story that starts sometime around 2019 and even before then. So in 2014, December, I hired my first person from Bangladesh. So quite some time ago, almost 12 years ago now, I hired my first person from Bangladesh without knowing even fully what Bangladesh is or where it is or anything about it, or even realizing the gentleman was from Bangladesh. And then for quite some time, I was hiring people online. I got to more than 500 individuals that I'd hired for myself or other companies at that point. And really in 2019, I had a year where I hired a ton of people. And I believe it was 150 to 200 people that I'd hired in the course of a year. And at the end of it, I was making evaluation of, okay, where's the highest quality talent coming from? And I still have this evaluation, and I evaluated it based on the quality of work that was being delivered. A lot of people will say, Bangladesh, it's only because it's so cheap. But we had in the same report, we had Kenya, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, India, Philippines, South Africa. So we had a lot of other places that were also of the same, or similar expense. So really, as a business sense, the focus was on what's the quality of work that's being delivered comparatively. And out of my top 10, individuals that I'd hired, I forget the exact number, but 6 or 7 of them all came from Bangladesh, and specifically from the IT sector. And this really made me love Bangladesh so much and focus on, okay, this is a country that I love. And at the same time, you have to realize that I had my own, development team, all from Bangladesh that I grew from that. And my lead developer that I'm still very good friends with, he was from Bangladesh, and I could speak to him openly. He had access to my banking accounts and everything.
Wow.
So there was a very big trust factor there. So
pretty impressive.
Yeah, exactly. So really the reason why Bangladesh was because of the trust that I had there, the love that I grew for the people that I was talking to. And, during that time period, there were times where, he didn't have a dedicated salary, my lead developer. And it's actually a crazy story because I would, at the end of the month, he would say, I deserve this and this much money. And I would say, take it. And he would take it out of my bank account by himself quite often, or say, hey, this is how much I need. And, I would send it over, but, he had access to everything he wanted. And there were months where I sent too much money and he would send money back because he says, no, I didn't deserve this. Like I was trying to pay him more than what he wanted. Yeah, exactly. So I think that was the start of why I chose Bangladesh, why I fell in love with Bangladesh. And just to go a tiny bit deeper into it, because it all really came together in 2014 for me, where in 1 week we had 3 different companies asking me to help them build a development team like I had. And that's when I realized really 2014 was a time, end of 2014, was a time where I sat down and, with 3 different companies asking me, hey, can you help me build a development team like yours? It opened my eyes, and my partner, she said, why don't we do this, as a business? Why don't we do this full time? We can help so many people. And the other thing is, in that same week, we just had looked at a report, like we wanted to change the world. That was the foundation of everything, right? So we knew we wanted to make the world a better place. And so in that same week, we had just looked at the report of the world the World Happiness Score. It was ranking the entire globe by happiness, and it ripped my heart apart that Bangladesh was the lowest happiness score in all of Asia and the third lowest in the world. And having an entire team already hired there and stuff, and with my purpose line and the reason why I'm here is to try to make the world a better place. I realized that if I didn't jump on this, who else will? I can't rely on others, so I need to go all out. And that's, again, sorry to make it so long, but that's really the reason why we chose Bangladesh.
That is,
yeah, exactly.
Wow, I'm like speechless because I didn't know this much into detail. It's actually clearly more than just a business decision. You had such a deep connection on a human level, emotional connection. You had trust established, and at the same time, you wanted to change the world, like trying to lift up a country with its happy index. So that's very commendable.
Thank you.
I'm actually glad you mentioned that you had other options like Philippines, Kenya, Pakistan. There's a ton of countries that could be cost effective, but you chose Bangladesh because of all the factors combined. It's not just one or two factors. It's multiple, right?
Many, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I noticed you talked about the IT skills, the IT manpower that you hired. Working on development, programming, design, maybe, right? Besides IT, I know RemoteIntegrity also hires assistants or marketers or people working in other fields, remote workers. So what other fields would you say you have been impressed from Bangladesh so far? And at the same time, what fields would you like to see Bangladeshi workers develop in?
That's such a beautiful question. I would say that the biggest roles and the easiest roles in order to get a remote job from Bangladesh would be anything IT, like a full stack developer, especially right now what's blowing up, and we've placed a lot of them within the last few weeks, are AI developers. Claude Code and Codex, focused developers is definitely something that's blowing up. And then another role that's great is like a marketing professional or social media. Although those two are a bit more difficult, and I would say that that's definitely a space where Bangladesh can still improve in. But another role where Bangladesh does fantastic are data evaluation and data analysis roles. Like so anything data focused or data science is another big one that we've had a lot of success placing. So anything really focused on data or programming or technology, Bangladesh is the go-to place to go. When it comes to design work and beautification or art, that's really a space that we've had quite a bit of difficulty with finding the right people. Although I do have to say, right now we have a role that we're placing. We're placing 2 video editors, and although we get about 20 times less applicants, finally now we have quite a few good video editors that have applied, but it's definitely not to the level of something like a full stack developer or front end developer or back end developer. So I would really love to see some improvement from Bangladesh on if I had to choose 2 roles, it would be like a sales call role. Or a client support, as well as anything that has to do with designs or something like that. Because right now we're trailing with where Bangladesh, we are trailing the Philippines with some of those roles, as well as South Africa. And I want to take that lead again and take the victory. So
I think one of the loopholes when it comes to, you mentioned design and sales/client support positions, is the communication skills, right? The ability to de-escalate or understand requirements or communicate different objectives. So do you have any plan, or do you already have a team that are involved in training remote workers with English language communication, maybe listening, speaking, or advanced communication skills?
Yeah, I'll give you some insight on that, actually. We have a behind-the-scenes update that I can give to you. Currently, we're working on a course together with Programming Hero on some of their stuff, but just giving them advice, pulling them over. Not a course with Programming Hero. More of us jumping in and trying to help them out. But basically, if you're good at communicating as a developer, Programming Hero is like really good to go to for that IT sector. And actually, really good news, because you were talking about a course, is CodersTrust is currently working on a course together with us in order to help with the English communication specifically for the remote sector. So we do have our onboarding courses and quite some details of how to present yourself for clients.
Yes.
But really right now, together with CodersTrust, we're working on a Bangladeshi specific communication course that will help prepare you for remote roles. So that's a bit of a behind the scenes update that maybe not a lot of people know yet, but that will be released and will definitely be of great effect. So in addition to that, just one piece of advice that I would love to give the audience that would help a lot is communication as a whole is the most important thing of your role, period. To give you an idea, we get a ton of developers. So when we post a development role, just now, for instance, we posted a development role and it had 2,900 applicants within 48 hours for a development role. So it goes so quick that people are applying. And really, we often place developers that are incredible developers, or get people applying to us that are incredible developers, but their communication skills are lacking. And we would rather go with a medium developer than an advanced developer, as long as the communication skills are good. Because we see with clients and with people landing remote roles, the better the English communication, verbal and written, but verbal very heavily, the better their salary is, and it's exponentially higher. So we've seen developers that are, senior developers or project leads that are only earning or getting offers from companies at about 60, 70,000 BDT versus a junior developer that has perfect English going up to all the way to 200K BDT. So and imagine if that junior developer didn't speak perfect English or incredible English, they'd be down at 30, 40K BDT. So just that ability to speak English, take the year or take a few months and really focus on your English. It's such a game changer for your lifestyle, for your salary, for getting that remote job, and for being placed. So if I can give one secret sauce, I would say it's definitely that English communication.
Yeah, for sure. It also directly links up with teamwork and collaboration in general, because you have to understand, it's not like you get the requirements once and you finish the project. You have to, from time and time again, review, understand, reform, right?
You have it perfectly. You got it nail on the head. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, let's take a little step back and speak about your startup, RemoteIntegrity LLC, because I feel a lot of people, when they hear about remote work in Bangladesh, they directly assume it's freelancing or kind of like what happens on Fiverr or Upwork. Yeah. But this is actually a contractual, or let's say a full-time remote job, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's actually two parts to it. And what we were seeing was, with us wanting to make a change in Bangladesh and not just looking for part-time, work, if we did this for profit, we would have went a completely different route. And what we would have done is went and found companies that wanted web apps or phone apps and stuff, and then used Bangladeshis workers in order to make those projects, and we would have taken the profit. But that's not what we wanted to do. What we really wanted to do was take a look at how do we set up a system so that we can get the most amount of money into Bangladesh and the most people being affected by this work, because that's essentially how you're going to help the economy, and that's how you're going to help the most families, right? Mm-hmm. So that was really our focus. And just to make a point of that, last year alone we lost $42,000. So it's not like we're doing this for a profit. And a lot of people would say, oh, well, Bangladeshis, they're cheap, you're just doing this for profit. We've lost a ton of money doing this. And that's really not our focus at all. So what we wanted to do with RemoteIntegrity was find a way of how to get the most people getting remote jobs that are secure and building that trust with the US sector. Because in America, a lot of people, and even in Europe, when you say Bangladesh, they think of India. And one, that's insulting, but two, it's frustrating, and you get tied in with something that has no significant comparison in my eyes. So what we did was, okay, you know what? We'll put our face there and say, trust us, hire here. And so we have companies, a ton of connections to companies that trust me in what I say, and then we get them the remote role. So, and everything goes through Bangladesh essentially. So that's kind of the way that we go about it, is we find people long-term contracts. We don't do any short-term contracts of full-time work, unless sometimes a company is looking for a part-time worker, but then we post it that way. And if someone is looking for part-time remote work, they can also get it that way. But usually what we're looking for is full-time, 8 hours a day of remote work. And yeah, so that's great. And then recently, actually, a further development, we have a second website that we just launched called FRUUM, FRUUM.com. And what we realized is we're able to impact hundreds of people in the way with that we're doing with remote integrity, but it's not at a scale that's large enough to make an impact. I think we're at the point with remote integrity where we own 0.07% of the market. So almost 0.1% of remote work in Bangladesh flows through us, which is already, it sounds great, but it's just a drop of the ocean, and we want to, help out way more. With FRUUM, what we're trying to do is we don't really make, money off it. For anyone in Bangladesh, it's 100% free to join the website. And then people from United States or from Europe, like right now we're big in the Netherlands and in Belgium and Germany. Those countries can come and post their roles there, and any Bangladeshi for free can apply for those, remote roles. So what we're trying to do is trying to just get more companies willing to look in the direction of Bangladesh.
That's very beneficial. So if you guys are watching this podcast, please go on to FRUUM.com and create a profile today. How would you say FRUUM is different than, let's say, Fiverr or Upwork? Do you offer something different maybe, or are you trying to maybe just improve on it?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's two major things. One is Fiverr takes a percentage of your income. I think it's something like 25%, 20 to 25%, depending on the role. We take 0%. So I think we have a transaction fee, but that's a conversion fee from USD to Bangladesh, and we don't earn that. That's going to the payment provider. So I forget the rate, but it's about 1% that gets taken. So a lot less than what Fiverr.
Very reasonable. Yeah,
very reasonable. And we don't earn, that's not our money that we're making on that. Right. That goes to the payment provider, right? So, one, it's completely free for anyone in Bangladesh. That's the focus. And then the second thing that really makes us different is on Fiverr, you're doing project-based work. And on FRUUM, what you're doing is you're looking for long-term remote jobs. So you're looking for work that, hey, I'm looking for a company for the next 3 years where I can do, X, Y, Z. That's the difference between the two. Is Fiverr is, let me do this same job for 50 people over and over again. With FRUUM, it's I want to work for one company, grow with one company, have a stable income that I know is going to be stable. And that's the big difference, is the stability point, Not saying either one is better. If you're looking for, project-based work, I would say go to Fiverr. If you're looking for long-term work,
I think Fiverr is more for like side income, right?
Exactly.
Just like a gig-based work. It's not like a job. But yeah, thank you for clarifying. I was actually wondering, the differences, and now I can see. What does FRUUM stand for? Sorry if I'm being ignorant about it.
Yeah, it's very funny actually. What we did is when we were looking for a name, we had a list of about 500 names that we were going through as a company, and we're looking at what do we choose, and so we ended up choosing one that means absolutely nothing.
Brilliant.
Yeah, the reason why is because we wanted a brand that nobody has, and
unique.
Maybe we chose the wrong name or something, but we voted on it internally. We let everyone from Remote Integrity vote on the name choice. One of the requirements we had is we didn't want a competitor in the search results. If someone says FRUUM, the first thing that comes up now, even without any SEO, is FRUUM.com. So
yes.
We didn't want any competitors or anyone we're going against. So it literally means absolutely nothing in no language anywhere. Like, we really tried to look for something for something that has no meaning anywhere. So it means nothing.
Now, I call this brilliant. It's like branding, very without any cost, right? You have your own name. Yeah.
Exactly.
Would you say it's only meant for Bangladeshi remote workers, or like in 5 years' time? Okay, it's only focused on Bangladesh.
Yeah. So it's 100% focused on Bangladesh. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't make a statement in 15 years from now if
Sure,
it's,
sure.
maybe someday we'll go to, another location. But right now it's 100% for Bangladesh, only for
Yeah.
Bangladeshis. And in fact, if someone makes a profile from another country,
Hmm.
or adds a phone number or location, we block the profile. So we're 100% Bangladeshi focused. That's our love. So why would we go anywhere else?
Right, I appreciate it. What would you say is the relationship between remote integrity and FRUUM? Is that something like a extension or?
Theoretically, yes, it's an extension because FRUUM is more focused on getting a ton of people, a ton of companies coming to one location and kind of being the marketplace for online jobs in Bangladesh. Remote integrity is very precise, where we go to one individual company at a time, find out what they want, give them a full service, and then hire often teams of people. Like just now we placed a team of 5 developers in one team together.
Yeah.
And so remote integrity is really focused on these enterprise accounts, these much bigger accounts of, I want 5 people, or we have multiple companies with more than 10 remote workers, all from Bangladesh.
Yeah.
That's really what remote integrity is focused on. With FRUUM, it's just fast service. If you want someone, go find them yourself, but here you go, this is the way to do it. And they kind of both help each other, because if someone signs up for FRUUM, remote integrity can also help them. If they don't find something that they want themselves, remote integrity will jump on it and see, hey, why didn't you hire from Bangladesh?
Yep.
And vice versa. If remote integrity has someone and they go, no, I don't like your people, we can go, hey, go on FRUUM, it's free to take a look, why don't you look for yourself what you like? And so they're kind of like, my comparison that I always make, it's like a steakhouse versus McDonald's. One is self-service and the other one is we'll cook the meal for you to however you want it. So that's the comparison there.
Makes sense. Since you mentioned, some people think Bangladesh is in India. I've had that experience personally. On my channel there's tons of videos where people don't know where Bangladesh is. So when approaching, let's say, American clients or American companies, did you ever had to, pass those steps of clarifying, like, hey, this is a country, this is not India? Or let me go a bit deeper. There's some people, not all, some people, they have a perception that South Asians are scammers. There's like memes and, there are different things online. So have you ever had to deal with that?
The question is how many times?
Oh my God.
All the time. So I'll give you even a story that I think you'll find mildly frustrating, but all the time. So I would say maybe half of the clients we work with have no idea that Bangladesh is its own country, and even after clarifying a few times, sometimes they don't even realize it. But if a company is too mean or too disrespectful toward Bangladeshis or remote workers, we don't work with them. We don't, remote integrity doesn't even take them into our locker, because we know it's just going to be trouble. So we focus on companies that will treat Bangladeshis respectfully and kindly, because that's how you increase the happiness score. Our entire game is the happiness score. So we don't work with them. But I would say most of the time we have to clarify, yeah, actually Bangladesh is not India. And they're always like, really? Yeah, I've hired from India before. Okay, yeah, but you haven't hired from Bangladesh. It's completely different. So we have that happen quite often. And the story I mentioned, right? I was together with someone from India that immigrated. He doesn't speak any native tongue. He only speaks English. When we were talking about Bangladesh, he was thinking that I was referring to the Bengal region of India.
West Bengal.
Yeah, and he had no idea until I clarified to him that it's a different country. And I was like, isn't your hair, like, your mom is from India? What are you talking about? And he was like completely lost. So, for me, it was so shocking, because I was like, wow, there's really a misconception here. And as your point for scammers, yeah, we do get it quite a few times, and, people will make jokes about it on the call. But it doesn't bug me so much, if I learned one thing is, if I get upset about it, it's going to make life more difficult. So if you go, yeah, actually, and then you educate them in a way where you show positivity, they will, like, if they go, oh, these scammers, and you go, I hate those scammers just as much as you, but actually Bangladesh, and you explain about how incredible Bangladesh is and stuff like that in a very positive light, you're going to create such a beautiful picture of oh wow, these people are different. Bangladesh is such a beautiful and positive space. And I would say out of a remote working sense, there's so many people there that are qualified for remote work. And there's 1% of people that make it so difficult for the other 99% of incredible people. So for instance, even when I post on social media, very often I'll get negative posts. Like just yesterday, I got a post on my profile being like, you're just doing it for the money and you're taking advantage of these people. And I was like,
Oh my God.
I was like, little do you know, I'm losing a ton of money doing this. like we're not making any money off this. This is, I have a second job that I work just to support this job. And so but it's often there's 1% of people in Bangladesh that just have a negative mindset, and whatever you say, they'll take it and put it negative. And that's the image that gets portrayed of Bangladesh. Is it's dirty, it's polluted, it's these negative people, blah, blah, blah. But then you also have these gems of people, these incredible, beautiful, hardworking. Like I've never met a country or individual people that are as hardworking as Bangladeshis. Like you tell them, hey, look, I need help over the weekend with something. They will be there. 2 weeks ago, I was over in Dhaka. It was one of the most incredible trips I've had. I had so many, friends and people smiling and taking care. And if I needed something, anyone was willing to help. It's a beautiful place. And then you get these few negative people that push it across the country. So I think if you have a smile, and you're working hard, use it. You guys are such incredible people, and you deserve it more than anyone else in my eyes. So, but yeah, sorry to go on a tangent there.
Thank you for the deep, analytical explanation. Very, very objectively well thought. I appreciate it. I think there's racists in every community, just like in America, in Bangladesh, Nigeria, everywhere. But it gets so blown out of proportion that people generalize it for their own, I guess, racist ideologies, right? But not everyone is like that. So I take everyone in as individuals. Everyone is an individual person, no matter the background, no matter the race. But from your answer, I could notice you are a positive problem solver. That could be a good description of you. So I think that's what makes you a good entrepreneur at the same time, because that's a key trait that you need to have. So can you please share with us, how did your entrepreneurial journey start? When was the first time you took a risk? When was the first time you took a step?
Yeah, it's a great question. I even have to think about that, because I kind of have always had this where I was trying to solve something. But I think when I was in high school was my first time starting an official business, or maybe even a bit before then in middle school. I know sometime in even before then. So I think a lot of it started when I started programming in 2011, I believe it was. And it might have been 2010, but sometime back then, shortly after the game Minecraft came out, I started programming and selling my scripts, selling plugins and modifications. And I built an entire team that was building, modifications for people. And really in that time with video games, it kind of is what sparked a lot. And that went super fun, and started getting me to see stuff like that. And at some point in high school, I went to a school, and I was selling smoothies at school and protein shakes, in the break times in order to make some extra money. And we had a blender set up. I think we had 3 different blenders, my Russian friend and I. And I was part of the business class. And I think even for a while I was like the student president of the business class at this school. Mm-hmm. And so, I had a really good mentor that really taught me a lot, and a really good education. I was very fortunate that I was able to receive a very good education that also forced me to think in problem solving, because you get what you put your mind on. And so if you put your mind on solving problems, you're going to solve a lot more problems than a person who's just thinking in problems. If a person is thinking, well, I can't do it because of this, and I can't do it because of that, and you're only doing this because of that, and you're only doing it because of this, they're going to get exactly. Yeah, they're going to get stop. But if you're thinking solving, most of the problems solved by themselves super easily.
Yes.
So I would say really, my journey took a start over by then, and then for I hired someone to make the website for me and stuff like that online and through Fiverr. I was one of Fiverr's top people, going all the way back to 2019. 2019 when I did the assessment. I stopped hiring completely from Fiverr, really. Maybe here and there. I think I still have a diamond membership, maybe not anymore. It might have expired. Just yesterday, I had a chat with a friend of mine, actually the first long-term developer that I hired. And what was interesting was he said, "Hey, Colin, you need to relax at some point. You're working 16 hours a day, and you need to breathe." And I said, like, maybe in 5 years from now, he said, you can take a break. I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, because then you've maybe helped 100,000 people already." And I said, "Well, then I have 100,000 more to help."
Good point.
Like, this is what I love doing. I wake up excited, fun. Like, come on, it's worthwhile for me. So
yeah,
absolutely. So I would suggest anyone find what you want to do in life, and then it doesn't feel like work. If you're constantly sitting there and you hate what you're doing and you're not having fun, either find a new environment to do it in and a new group of people to do it in, or find something else that you want to do. But it should, you shouldn't be waking up every day frustrated. You should be waking up every day with the purpose of, this is the route I'm on. That's my 5-year plan. I'm heading in the right direction. It might not be good today, but if I improve just 1% or even 0.1% today, over time, it's going to multiply so significantly, and I'll be one of the best at what I want to do. So
yeah. So you're saying you would rather be content with a sound mental health than being a millionaire and depressed, miserable.
100%.
100%. Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely. No, I agree.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
you do realize, some people, they would rather, do everything just for the money. They lose track of their mind.
Absolutely. But some of the most depressed people I know are millionaires. So,
yes.
It's and even billionaires. I mean, there's the amount of unhappy millionaires that are in this world are so significant, or ones without purpose of just, oh, I'm doing this for the money. Okay, well, great. When you leave this world, what have you contributed? It's that's the big thing, and not just that, but it's also important who you do it with, right? So my mother gave me an assessment when I was very young, and I forget even how we got onto this conversation, but this stuck so much with me. Where it was, we were talking about the people around you and how valuable it is, having the people around you. And my mother asked me, would you rather play? I wanted to be a professional soccer player at the time when I was also 13 years old. The question was, would you rather play on a professional soccer team with the 10 people that you hate the most on the field with you, just people you very much so hate, that you feel so negatively toward, or would you rather clean toilets with your 10 best friends? And it really got me to think, because I thought about it for a while, and I realized, if you're sitting there and cleaning toilets with your 10 best friends, having a good time, singing together, you're gonna have a good time. You're gonna end up and smiling, because you're gonna make jokes with each other and have fun. But if you're on the soccer field or whatever you want to do, if you're a programmer with 5 different programmers in your team that you just cannot stand and don't want to be around, different world. You're not going to be happy going to work. So I would say figure out who you want to be around, and get positive people in your mind, because if you have negative people around you, you're going to start being negative. So start with yourself, start being positive. You're going to affect the people around you as well, get them to be positive, and it's going to make a ripple effect, right? So that would be my final remark on that.
Like, if you believe in yourself, and if you have believers around you who believe in you, that's like a snowball effect, and that's just science. That just works in psychology.
Exactly.
Besides your mom, did you have any people who you maybe looked up to or you took inspiration from with your overall outlook on life?
Yeah, I would definitely say my parents are the 2 biggest ones. My father and my mother, were incredibly vital in what I needed to get accomplished in life. And then I would say my best person that I would go to for advice was my brother. So I'm very, very, very fortunate to have a family unit that is very strong, that we're very close to. We have close values and support each other 100%. So I'd say the biggest people that I looked up to were really my family members that would guide me in any moment that I needed it. And I'm very fortunate that my parents have very similar values, and my brother as well to I do, and really trying to make the world a better place. My parents are very big philanthropists and have donated a ton of money in order to help people, more money than I've seen in my life. Like
Beautiful.
they really focus on, okay, what can we do to help? So they are really the ones that grew me up in a way where it's like, do it for the help of others. And the most important thing you can have for yourself is to help another. And the best you feel is when someone else accomplished someone that they wanted to accomplish. So yeah, I would say my parents and my brother.
That makes sense because, this is just speaking in terms of psychology. You learned the concept of love from your family since your childhood. So you learned what is love, like acts of service, it's caring about others, it's doing something without expecting something in return. That really created this mindset in you where you want to make Bangladesh a happier place and the world a better place in general.
Exactly.
I think a good business sustains on solving problems and connecting with people rather than it's not just a transactional thing, right?
Exactly.
It's like connecting with people in some way. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you're delivering a good product, but you have the right people around you and you have good connections and you're positive.
Yes.
People buy into you as a person. They don't buy into the business. And that's the thing that people forget is, if you're positive and people see you're positive, and if you're solution oriented and people see you're solution oriented, you will succeed. We've hired people with no skills or a lot less skills than other people just based on their attitude, and over and over. And some of the greatest hires we've done was 100% just because of their attitude. And those are the people that succeed in life. So you're absolutely correct.
Yeah, and they're willing to grow. They're willing to be a team player. That is important. There could be someone super skilled, but thinking for himself, self-centered, doesn't care. That is not a smart hire, right?
No, exactly. Not at all. And it never works. It never works.
So like outside work, how do you manage your work-life balance? What do you do, I guess, outside of your work?
So it's a good question. I work-life balance is a word a bit foreign to me. I don't have much of a work-life balance. But when I do have time, I love playing football or soccer, as the Americans say it. Yeah. I don't travel too much now, but someday I want to travel more. Most of my travel is just work-based. And then I would say one of the big things that I've been doing is I got into running and biking. So I did a few triathlons now because physically I've noticed if I physically am fit, mentally I'm more fit too. If there's one thing I do that doesn't have 100% influence on my work, it would be the chess I play. So I play at least a few chess games a day. I play a lot of chess for the average person, and I like competing. Not in person because that takes too much time, but online I compete a lot now. I used to play tournaments quite a bit ago, but so I would say sports and chess are two of my biggest passions.
I love that. I'm a fan of chess. I won tournaments in chess back in school and college, but
That's awesome.
Yeah, but it's not something, I guess, publicly popular in Bangladesh. Like people usually talk about cricket or football, but there's not a lot of people who goes like, hey, you want to play chess? Like it's very rare to find.
Exactly. But it's such a great game and keeps your mind sharp. So
yes, definitely.
Absolutely.
I have some questions that I think people, like the public, may benefit. So during an interview, like walk me through the perspective of the interviewer. What is something that you're actually expecting? What is something that's like a deal breaker, and the overall, I guess, mindset or psyche?
Yeah, the big thing is to note is there's a lot of deal breakers, but a lot of things that you can do in order to set yourself apart. So I would say, some of the things that set yourself apart is your communication level. I mean, currently it is the number one thing in order to get a remote job is just be able to communicate and be pleasant to be around, because people hire people that they want to be around. So, we've had people interview that start insulting, and it's like, okay, well, next Like we have so many other people that could take the role. Your skills are important, but you think in Bangladesh, there's a cultural thing where you think that skills come first. It doesn't. The way you present yourself and your attitude comes before any skill that you can ever learn. So make your attitude your skill, and then you will succeed. And then some things that negative impact is if your microphone is terrible or if your background is terrible. Like we often have people interviewing and their background they have is full of an unmade bed, tons of dirty clothes, random stuff laying around. It takes 2 minutes in order to make it just look presentable, and companies look at that.
At least for the interview. Yeah.
At least for the interview. If you don't do it every day, just do it when you turn on your camera, because it just shows, hey, look, I wasn't willing to put in the effort to make my background look good. I would rather not do that work. Well, okay, are you going to work then when you're in the company, or be bare minimum? So these little points of just being presentable is incredible. And if you don't have a laptop with a good quality camera, put a phone, put it not vertical, put it sideways, put it down. Any phone nowadays has a good camera. And join the meeting from your phone. Your audio from your phone should be good enough. And then another tip is we have quite often people interview with their headsets, not realizing how terrible their headsets are. So quite often we get people interviewing and it's just like it sounds as though they have food in their mouth, and the microphone is 3 rooms away, and it's like even our note taker can't figure out what they're saying. And like right there instantly, you might be the best candidate for the role, but you just ruined any opportunity you had for getting the role. So really call a friend before the interview, set up a Google meeting. It's free. It takes 1 minute. Set up your background, and you're already, way more likely to get the role just by doing that.
Yes, in Bangladesh, people even think the degree or the academic results matter a lot. What do you have to say for that, especially in the 21st century?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there is some importance to it. I would say that it gives you maybe a 10% boost, maybe 20% boost. But the issue is that no one hiring remotely knows your university. Whether you went to BRAC, whether you went to North-South University, whether you went to East-West, whether you went to Daffodil, it doesn't matter. If someone is recruiting from Bangladesh, they do, like, if we're presenting you to a person, like a company, great, I studied this and this at Daffodil. It goes over their head. Countries like Europe, or countries in Europe, or countries in North America, or in Western civilization, they don't know how strong Bangladeshi education is. They don't know. Really, this is what I mean with that. Your resume is just a way to get you into the interview, but really everything about you getting the job has to do with how you present yourself. And one thing that you can do is take your resume, run it through, ChatGPT or Claude or whatever AI you want to, have it analyze it and find gaps in your resume based on how AI would look at it. Because nowadays everybody uses AI resumes, resume scanning, and they're just looking at your resumes based on AI. Very few companies can even afford, especially when going remote, to look at so many resumes, because so many people are trying to hire, trying to find remote work. So if someone posts a remote job, you're only one of hundreds of candidates going for that job. So take a look at your resume and don't lie on your resume. It's so easy to spot when someone is lying. Like, so easy to spot when someone is lying.
Yes.
So be truthful, be honest, be yourself, be positive, and that's really the way in order to do it. But sorry, I went a bit off there. But your education matters. Your degree matters if you're for a remote sector, if you're studying abroad. So if you have the opportunity to study and I see a lot of Sweden, UK, I've seen some United States, Australia, I see a ton, or even China, I've seen a few times now, and Singapore or Dubai. If you had this chance to study abroad, that's a bigger bonus than going to the best school in Bangladesh is what I've noticed. No matter what school it is, because mostly it's culturally fitting you to the remote sector. So,
Yes.
and I want to be precise. I'm only talking about the remote sector. I'm not talking about local
Sure.
work. If you're looking for local jobs, don't talk to me. I don't know enough about
No,
it.
it's okay. I mean, this whole podcast is about remote jobs, so it makes
Exactly.
sense. Yes, I want everyone to understand we're talking about remote jobs, and this is not something to do with local Bangladeshi jobs. Yep.
Exactly.
Speaking of resume, something that I personally noticed, because I did work with the HR for almost 6 years, many Bangladeshi people, they just copy paste like different paragraphs or sections of a resume, like energetic, fast learner, blah blah blah. It's nothing authentic, it's nothing unique, it's nothing that you can identify with the candidate. So what do you say for those kinds of applications, and do people even read the resume like line by line?
Yeah, I would say that most people skim a resume nowadays and don't look too much into it until you're at the final stage. So if you have 2,000 people applying, nobody looks. But most companies have gotten really smart about having the AI scan and evaluate your resume. So for instance, our AI is looking at what impact have you made? Have you, I grew I worked for, this and this company, and I brought their Shopify sales from, $2,000 to $10,000 a month. You are an automatic, push to the next round.
Results driven. Yeah.
Exactly. And then it's gonna, we're gonna analyze it if it's true or not. But definitely there's the evaluation is there. So yes, it is very important still. You might think, oh, it's not important still, but you're trying to appeal to the AI, but also human, because at the end, any resume that we get, we look at precisely in detail. 4 or 5 individual people are looking at your resume at that point before we choose you, because there are so many people going for these remote roles.
Yes.
How do we bring it down? So
I have heard 2 different opinions, so I want to hear yours. So do you think a picture is actually necessary to be on a resume, and if so, is there any ideal picture type or format that recruiters are looking for?
Yeah, so it's not necessary to put onto a resume, and it's not 100% needed, although it can be a very big plus or a very big minus. We've canceled and literally rejected candidates just because of their resume photo that they have. And we've pushed people to the next round just based on their resume photo. So if you have a positive looking photo and high quality, then it's good. If you have a low quality image of you looking very poorly, of you having a very negative face, or a face that you want to look too serious in, that's not good. So we have people applying that look as though they're at a funeral, and I would say that many people in Bangladesh apply with funeral photos, is what I would call them. And this is such a negative, because when we look at it, we think, how is the happiness score of this person? And well, he's very low. Okay, is he gonna work hard in order to contribute? I don't know. He doesn't look like he wants to. If you have a photo, make it look like you're happy. Make your smile. My biggest tip is smile with your eyes. If you'd have to do that, make you seem approachable. Yes. If you look like you're at a funeral, nobody's going to want to approach you. But if you look as though you're having you're at a wedding,
excited,
people are going to want to approach you. And so it's the same with a resume. If you have a resume there where people feel, oh, this is someone who I can feel like I'm approaching, they're going to accept you. So so I would say, if you don't have a good photo, don't use any photo. If you have a good photo, use the good photo.
Yeah, it's just human nature. We want to be around positive people.
Absolutely.
When people get asked, what is your weakness? There's like 2 kinds of candidates. One is like they try to sugarcoat or make up a lie, which sounds very obvious, like this is not even true. Another kind of candidate is they think that if I'm being honest and brutal, they'll value my honesty, like saying I'm not on time.
Yeah.
I'm not serious about deadlines. Like these are obviously deal breakers, but it's honest. It's honest, but it's like a deal breaker. So how would you expect a candidate to answer this kind of question?
It's a good question. I would say be yourself, because in the end of the day, if you're not being yourself and being trying to be and communicating. Like there's so many instructors that say, do an interview like this, do an interview like that. Well, sure, that can help you, but not so much when it comes to this is what you should say to answer the question. And if that's there, then if you're just going based on a script, it's very noticeable from the interviewer. So I would say don't go based on a script, go based on yourself. Because sure, I might have a weakness of let's say I had a weakness of showing up late to meetings. What I would say would not be, I show up late to meetings, because there you're just going negative. But you can say, you know what, I have something that I'm really still working on and trying to improve on,
a process.
and show the process of that you're trying to work on it. I've sometimes have a tendency to lose track of time. And I've really been, focused on it, and it's something that I'm really trying to improve in, is so that I show up for all meetings on time, as long as that's true, But usually, people with the right mindset try their best in order to solve their weaknesses. So,
yes.
So really be yourself and work on yourself more than on your answers for interviews is what I would say. So yeah.
Another thing I want to ask you, and this might be rare, but some people face it. I've personally faced it as well. When the interviewer makes, let's say, like a mistake in their question, like the question itself is faulty. Okay,
Yeah.
like the question has an error, or the interviewer is absolutely wrong about something, and the candidate actually corrects the interviewer. Because if the candidate answers the interviewer, the answer would be false by default because the question was false. So when the candidate corrects the interviewer politely, the interviewer might be offended. Like, who are you to correct me? So what is the best action to take in this kind of situation?
It's a very specific question. I don't think I've ever experienced that in the interviews that I've seen, but
Yeah.
I think the best thing to do is just to be positive and like super positive in the way you're doing it. So rather than going, this and this, you said this wrong, obviously that's going to be portrayed at very very negative. But if you go, I thought it's this in this way, but I could be absolutely wrong. I just, this is the way that I know it. You're allowing space for the interviewer to go, oh yeah, I got that wrong, or oh yeah, I made this mistake.
Yes.
But if he's adamant and very strict about, no, this is exactly how it was, don't worry too much about it. Just move on.
Yeah.
Normally, I would say 9 out of 10 times the interviewer himself is not even the one who makes the decision if you're going to be hired or not. So,
Right.
So I would say don't be too focused on that, and stay positive. Really, just remain positive and stay true to yourself.
You mentioned you visited Bangladesh. How was your experience? Can you please tell us in brief?
Oh, I loved it. So I have the issue that I have a very weak stomach. So I wasn't able to eat any local food really. So there's only a few places that I really ate, and the hotel where I was staying at, they were very accommodating. I actually stayed at multiple hotels because I wanted to see the different types of hotels. So I stayed at 3 different hotels while I was there. I loved almost everything of it. I loved getting to meet my entire team, and we had a big get together and a soccer tournament that we organized. We had a big brunch, everyone together as well, and every day we had dinner with the team. And
how many selfies or pictures did you get?
Oh my goodness! So far uploaded, we have about 270 gigabytes of videos and photo footage from the trip, and that's not even everyone. So. Probably more than 300 gigabytes of storage of videos, photos, and everything. I really loved the trip, and I just, the only negative that I saw was the air quality and pollution. So my throat afterwards was hurting bad when I got back to Germany. So but this is the mission. This is what we're working on. Part of everything that Remote Integrity earns goes right back into the air pollution. Just so you know, I didn't even mention that, but a part of anything that Remote Integrity makes goes right back into funding air pollution. It's actually built into our founding documents and what we stand for. So yeah, that's another point of
I deeply respect that. If anyone watches my channel, I've made tons of content awareness against littering, against air pollution, plastic pollution. I'm very sensitive to that, so I honor that noble work.
Absolutely.
Did you get to learn any Bangla? maybe?
Ami Raji Noi, Ami Jaro, Tumi Jano,
Mm,
Assalamu alaikum, or
yeah.
Alhamdulillah, or a few words Donabad, a few words here or there, but not yet. I still have a lot to learn, but I'm working on it.
You know enough to
I,
communicate. That's great.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Is it okay to share what is your ethnicity? Because you said you went to Germany or
Yeah,
you're in America, so.
absolutely. So I was born in America to German parents. So both of my parents are German, are from Germany. They both grew up there, lived there their whole lives. I was born in America, lived half of my life in Germany when I was a young kid, half of my life in America, going back and forth. And then also at some points was in South Africa. My real ethnicity, I guess, would be German, but in my heart, I feel a lot more American because I've spent more time of my life here in America. So
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. So
got you.
German American with a bit of a twist.
Thank you so much again, Colin. Did I say your name right? Colin Koenig?
Yeah, Koenig is one pronoun. Usually people say Colin Koenig, but Colin Koenig I get a lot too. So it's
Okay.
absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
I don't want to butcher anyone's name. I mean, that's
No,
not the
it's
intention.
totally fine. It's very hard to offend me.
Okay. Thank you so much. You're very positive. One last question. Do you have any message to the people watching from Bangladesh? They might be, job aspirants, people dreaming of applying for a remote job to support themselves, to support their family, and to avoid the crazy traffic in Dhaka pretty much. So do you have any message for them?
If I had a short message that I would give, would be make a profile on FRUUM, make a profile wherever else you can. Really reach out and try to reach out to companies as well, but do it in a very positive minded way where you're not coming across like spam. If you just message a ton of people and you go, do you have a job? Do you have a job? Do you have a job? You're not going to get a job. You have to really work on yourself first and then work on finding, the role. But work hard on yourself. Work on yourself first. Make yourself a positive minded person, make yourself a thankful person, make yourself a uplifting person, and then you're going to get to the point where you can uplift others. And if you're uplifting others, then you will easily find remote work. That's what people are missing, is they think it's the skills, but your biggest skill is how you treat others and how you go across with your communication to others. So that would be the biggest message that I give, is leave a ripple effect. You help one person around you, and that person is going to help. And if you have too many negative people around you, you're going to be a negative person. So maybe if you have too much negativity, or you feel too negative, maybe look at the people around you. Maybe you have some people there that shouldn't be influencing your mindsets. And my suggestion would be work on your mindset first, and everything else comes after.
Perfect. Thank you so much again, Colin. I cannot thank you enough. This was, I think, one of the best podcasts on my channel. As I said, this is benefiting the masses, actually helping our country, Bangladesh, and actually showing how visionary and intelligent you are. So I really, really appreciate you once again. To everyone watching, you guys can follow our guest here on Instagram or connect with our guest on LinkedIn. Here's the link. And if you enjoyed this content, please subscribe to Bingoscape. This was your bird, Saf Hardy, signing off for now.